think we're good. Okay. I'm going to get started here unless someone comes out to tell me I'm going too soon, but welcome to the Candidates Forum for the Sturbridge Selectmen. My name is Alexandra McNitt. I am the Executive Director for the Chamber of Central Mass South, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator tonight. I'd like to thank our Town Administrator, Jeff Bridges, and the CCTV crew led by Bruce Butcher for helping us make this evening possible. I'd like to thank all of our candidates for being with us here tonight. I will introduce you to them shortly. And finally, I'd like to thank you watching this forum for taking a moment of your evening to invest in your community's future. It really does make a difference to be involved in your community, so thank you. Quickly, I'm going to just go over the ground rules. Tonight, we are going to hold what is referred to as an equal time Q&A format. No surprises here. Simple Q&A. Each person will get a turn. Each candidate will respond to each question for up to 3 minutes before going on to the next question. I'll raise my hand for the candidates to give them a heads up when 30 seconds remain, and then again when 10 seconds remain. If after a candidate responds to something, I think clarification on a specific point needs to be made, I might ask a follow-up question where the candidate has 1 minute to respond to that point. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. The order in which candidates will respond will be decided by pulling names from this bucket in just a couple of seconds. We also are offering the ability for you at home to text in questions in real time as time allows. I would ask that you please include your name and street address, just like you would at a town meeting, just to kind of make sure people know where you're coming from. At the end of the forum, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for closing thoughts. So, I'm going to pull the names. This will be the order that the candidates respond for the evening. So, going first to each question will be Chase Kabinski. Second will be Michael Supernut, our two incumbents as it happens. That's just by chance. Chase. Priscilla Guinness. And that leaves, I know I've got another one in here just so we all know that we're keeping things nice and tight, Jamie Goodwin. Okay, so that is the order for our responses. And with that order, I would like to give them each a chance to make a few opening remarks, and we will start with you, Chase.
Great. Thank you, Alex, for hosting this tonight. I am Chase Kabinski, running for my second term on the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen. I'm a hometown guy. I attended the Sturbridge Nursery School, taught by Deb Morin. I went on to Burgess Elementary, and then I went on to play outside linebacker for the Tantasco Warriors. I attended Colby Sawyer College in New Hampshire and came back home to work alongside my grandfather Stan and my father Brian in the family business. Many of you know me from working in your backyard. Now, I don't have social media, and tonight I want to talk to you just as if we're at the dinner table. I want you to get to know Chase Kabinski. I want you to know my policies, my beliefs, and my unique ideas for the town of Sturbridge. Sturbridge has so many opportunities to be excited about. Our location at the junction of 84 and the Mass Pike provides us opportunity for desirable business ventures. Being a pro-business candidate is essential to lowering the taxes in this town because they're tied together. The more business we bring in, the lower your taxes are going to be. This past year, we were hit hard with COVID. We've seen firsthand a lot of businesses even vacate. We need to attract businesses. Some exciting ideas that will help this town to attract businesses are the Mass DOT has Sturbridge on the 2026 TIP Phase 1 of a downtown revitalization plan. If I serve on this board for 3 more years, I am going to push to make our downtown beautiful. I voted in favor to purchase the parking lot in the center of this district. I want to bury electric lines. I want to create sidewalks. I want to plant trees, and I want decorative street lighting. There are grants available from the state to make this possible. I want to make Sturbridge more desirable for businesses to locate to and for people to want to visit and see those businesses thrive.
Wonderful.
Sturbridge has so much going for it. We have wonderful restaurants we can take our families to. We have unique shopping, and we have lodging. Many other towns don't have the lodging that you can provide for your visitors. I built my home in Sturbridge in 2008. I live there with my wife Samantha and my two sons, Rory and Kai, who both attend Burgess Elementary School. This is my hometown. This is your hometown. And if given the opportunity to continue to serve our town, I promise you, I will do my best to help this town succeed. Thank you.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Chase. Michael?
Yes, thank you, Alex, for this opportunity to let us communicate with the voters in Sturbridge. I was born in Sturbridge, and I've lived here most of my life. I love this town and its history and its people, and I feel the need to give back something to the community. And that's why I'm running for my third time to be one of your selectmen. Now, being a town resident on social media has been questioned, and some people are saying I don't reside in town. I did live in Belchertown from 1974 to 1985. I still own property in Belchertown, but I do not reside at that address at all. In fact, I haven't been there overnight since 1985. My 23 years of public service has included being chairman of the Conservation Commission and member of the Board of Health in the town of Dartmouth, Massachusetts. That's where I started, and that's where I went to college as well, UMass Dartmouth. And I have served as a town engineer, planning board engineer, water and sewer superintendent, and public works director. I've served as a member of the Sturbridge Board of Selectmen for the past 6 years. In addition, I have over 25 years' experience in the private sector as a consulting engineer, including, designing water, sewer infrastructure, roadways, surveying, project management, construction supervision, and estimating, bidding, all the things that an engineer or contractor does. I am a member of the Worcester County and Massachusetts Selectmen's Association, Sturbridge Board of Selectmen's representative to the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, the Southwest Subregion alternate to the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is the one that decides how federal transportation dollars are spent in central Massachusetts. A member of the Worcester Regional Transit Authority Advisory Board, and also a member of the Massachusetts Municipal Association Policy Committee on Public Works, Transportation, and Public Utilities. My campaign platform is to advocate for business, economic development, tourism, and jobs, and while preserving the town's natural beauty, I fight for Route 20 funding to reduce traffic congestion and improve safety. I will support the senior center project, provide better housing opportunities for town residents, and I will ensure community through strong support of fire, public works, and police.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Next is Priscilla.
Alex, thank you for organizing this on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm Priscilla Jimis. I have a doctorate in educational leadership, and I have been a school administrator for many years and currently a college instructor at Quinsigamond. I'm passionate about Sturbridge, and I want it to be an affordable community in which to live and in which to work. I believe in transparent and efficient government with balanced development. Due to COVID and my loss last June, I have had time to reflect, and I've spent these months in isolation thinking about how can I best serve my community. Last year, Mr. Kabinski and I supported $450,000 in tax relief, and I believe in that the tax rate needs to be held as it was because of the impact of COVID. If I'm fortunate enough to have your vote this year, I will advocate for no increase in the tax rate again, a reduction of $500 in property taxes on average to assist residents from the COVID impact, or a reduction of the tax rate from $19.02 to $18. Sturbridge will be receiving over $2 million in direct municipal funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. This money cannot be used directly for tax relief, but we can use that money in other funds and release funds for tax relief. I was the member of the Board of Selectmen who supported the gift of $2.4 million for a sewer line on Route 15 proposed by Mr. Moreau, the owner of the Pine Lake Resort. Some selectmen question as to why Mr. Kabinski tried to work with them for connection fees, but he met with resistance as well. The residents of this community have paid thousands and thousands of dollars in studies after study. All the studies conclude that Route 15 can be developed and that it is important for development and tax revenue. Some people fear development. However, we need to encourage it for the revenue. We have become experts at paper trails, but not so much on development. We need to work together aggressively to fill the many vacancies we have currently. We're fortunate to have over 1,700 acres of open space, which gives us our pristine look. In 2015, we purchased the Plimpton property with the understanding of 16 acres to be used for ball fields, and I'm hoping that this comes for discussion later this evening. Our seniors deserve a quality, state-of-the-art senior center that can be totally energy efficient. And I believe that grants are available for the senior center, the fields, and infrastructure. I look forward to the discussions this evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Wow, almost exactly 3 minutes, Priscilla. Great, thank you. All right, someone
Priscilla.
practiced.
All right.
Jamie, last but not least, let's go.
All right, batting cleanup. First, I want to second Priscilla's comments, thanking you, Alex, and the Chamber for having us here tonight. We appreciate it. Also, I'd like to start by thanking our town administrator, Jeff Bridges, and the town's employees for all their hard work in this exceptionally trying and terrible year. So thank you, Jeff. Second, I'd like to thank everyone at Sturbridge that I've spoken to in the last few months for taking the time to consider my candidacy. It's only a great town because of its great people, and I've appreciated the opportunity to connect with everyone, including all my candidates here tonight. So I'm running for selectman because I think I have a perspective that will be valuable to the town. The balance between fiscal responsibility on the first hand and what services need to be provided on the other. It's not easy. And as we search for it, we need to prioritize our local businesses, sound fiscal policy, our schools, our neighborhoods, our fields, and our seniors. And these are the things that Sturbridge cares about. I'm assuming everybody here does as well. But given that we're being hosted by the Chamber tonight, I think the most appropriate thing to address at the moment is that first priority I mentioned, our businesses. Some of our local businesses and our fellow residents have suffered devastating losses. And I understand the tension that a business owner faces when looking at decreasing accounts, increased costs and liabilities, and balancing how to be good to your employees while figuring out how to pay the mortgage. We need to stabilize right now. This is the time to stabilize Sturbridge for the next, for the future, to maintain what we have. Sturbridge needs representatives that understand how to balance those pressures while making sure we meet our obligations. I've practiced law for almost 13 years. My career has brought me to hundreds of communities in Massachusetts. I've represented employers, the government, and hardworking men and women. In that time, I've engaged with some of the best and the worst governed communities in Massachusetts. I have the experience to address the budgetary hurdles that the town's about to face. And they're considerable, even though we seem to have a lot of money coming towards us, but we don't know how that money can be spent. So any of the promises made here tonight have to be always have to be tempered by a certain amount of fluidity. When is COVID going to end? How are we going to be able to spend that money? So, but I have the experience to address those hurdles. I asked for the residents' vote tonight because of my experience, my commitment to this community, and I believe that Sturbridge can weather this present storm and come out stronger. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Jamie. Again, almost exactly 3 minutes, so thank you. All right, we'll get into the question phase of things. I will remind folks that there is a phone number where you can text a question if you would like to participate. Can't promise that everyone will be able to have their questions aired, but if you would like to text that number, it should be on a character generated in front of all of us. Please include your name and street if you do. So for the first question, nothing scary here, and again, we will start with Chase, but what special skills and/or experience do you bring to the table as a candidate, Chase, that residents should know about, and why are they important?
All right, the special skill that I feel that I bring to the table here as being a candidate is I truly love the residents of this town, and I truly love helping you. I care for each and every one of you. I enjoy when you reach out to me with a minor issue, a major issue. I enjoy helping you facilitate that issue in front of our board, because let's face it, coming to the town with something is not always the easiest thing to do. There could be minor issues like a dock permit or whatnot, but when you come in front of the board, you look for those familiar faces to help, and you got a friendly one here in me. And I really enjoy helping the residents, and my knowledge, I've grown up here my whole life. I've done business here my whole life. I have firsthand knowledge of a lot of the businesses because I built them from the ground up. And I'm here to help Sturbridge. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chase. Michael, how about you? Experience, you spoke to this a little bit earlier, and skills.
Skills.
What do people need to know about you, Michael, that they don't already?
Well, I listed several organizations that I participate in, and these, like Massachusetts Municipal Association, has all kinds of training for municipal officials, especially for selectmen. And over the years, I've been diligent on, going through those training sessions. People that have listened to the selectmen's meetings probably get bored listening to me talk about, at this meeting or this MPO meeting or whatever, this happened. But the skill and the skills are developed by training, and I've over the years have had all different types of training in human resources and housing, affordable housing, and all different subjects that a selectman has to deal with. Selectmen have to deal with a lot of issues that come before the town, and therefore this training that's provided by the organizations that I listed in my opening statement give me the skills to respond appropriately to situations that the town has come upon and will come upon in the next 3 years. My skills are based on the training that I've had from the professional organizations that I've been part of.
Great, thank you, Michael. Priscilla?
As a school administrator, I have always had to balance my budget and providing the best services for the students. As you know, many times the budgets are not that good, and we had to make cuts, and I always maintained my staff, and we would make cuts, whatever. We may not have had enough paper to get through the year, but everyone understood the need for conservation of monies. I understand the different types of, we talk about distress, we talk about disparities. There's economic, there's social, and we all know COVID has had its stresses in many families and in many individuals, as well as in many businesses and in communities. We have to work, and when we work with this, we have to understand all this. I was recognized for my work in a private school. I was given the key to the city by the mayor of Lowell for bringing my school to international prominence. So I understand working with different peoples. I understand working with government and as a school administrator. I was last year recognized nationally as an educator who was able to bring students from the beginning levels and the lowest levels of academic progress to achieve graduation at a college level. This is what I bring to the table.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Priscilla. Jamie?
Certainly. Special skills. So I have negotiated agreements for employers that have consequences ranging in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars per year. I'm on the board of an orchestra. I'm a businessman. I understand that if I don't if I don't get results, I don't get paid. I have comprehensive knowledge of labor and employment law, disability law, litigation, municipal law, and there's really not an issue in public employment and around public budgets that I haven't dealt with that I can think of. I'm sure there's something, but no, so that sort of expertise is, I think, unique amongst my peers here. I also graduated high school 1 year earlier than Chase, so I think that's an advantage. So, I've got nothing for that was my capper. That's the real.
But were you a linebacker?
No, that was on the tennis team. So I guess that's in keeping with everything we talked about.
All right, it sounded like we got a question in here from the audience, so, well, somebody asked, can you pose questions direct to candidates? No, you can pose questions direct to my cell phone, and if I like your question, I'll ask it. Just want to make sure we keep it clean here, folks, but we do want to have questions from residents. I will make a strong effort to ask them. Since I don't have anything else in the queue, though, we'll go on to the next one that I have here. Okay, and again, we're going to start this with Chase. So please describe one activity or committee that you've been involved in within town, what it meant to you, and how it shaped and/or impacted the town.
An activity that I was involved with in the town was actually the reason why I chose to run 3 years ago. And that was, I was tasked with doing the site work at the Holiday Inn Express in Sturbridge. And watching what that gentleman went through, permitting with zoning board, conservation, planning, and you know, sitting in the audiences of these boards and watching the way it was conducted was the reason I decided to run. I didn't like how difficult it was made for the guy. He was taking a piece of property, let's face it, was a serious eyesore. And you see what we have there now as our gateway district entering Sturbridge. I was very proud to get through that situation and get built today with what is there. And that's probably one of my most proud moments of an activity in Sturbridge.
Great, thank you, Chase. Michael?
I can go back quite a ways with a committee that I think helped change the town a bit. Back in the late 1980s, after 1985, when I moved from Belchertown back to Sturbridge, I was on a Public Works Advisory Committee. At that time, there was like a separate set of water commissioners, sewer commissioners, highway department was separate, and the advisory committee was tasked with going through the transition of combining all of those departments into a uniform working Department of Public Works. And I think we did a good job, and I think Sturbridge has one of the best Public Works departments in the area because of it. And I did contribute that. I mean, I've done other things since then, but you asked for one example. Well, that's an example that I think affected the town to this day.
Yes, great, thank you, Michael. And you do have a very wonderful Public Works Department. Frankly, from the Chamber's perspective, all of your departments do a hell of a job here. You've got some great staff.
I totally agree.
You really do. You're very fortunate. Okay, Priscilla, you're up.
I think the activity that shaped me the most, I was 2 months elected, within my first 2 months, when I was elected the first time for the board, we had a tornado, which will hit its 10th anniversary June 1st.
That's right.
I went to homes I raked their properties. I held people as they cried. And it still brings it back. It was a very emotional time for me to watch people see their homes so destroyed, so despondent on what happened to them in a flash of a minute. That changed me forever. It really did. And it made me realize so many things, and I got to know so many people, and I want to say it was wonderful to meet them, but I wish it was on a better circumstance. But I've stayed connected with them, and that's the beauty of that. But that was the activity that changed me the most.
Great, thank you. Jamie?
Well, I don't know if it's the activity that it's changed the most or the most that I've contributed to the town. But what your question prompted from me, Alex, was, just kind of sitting around the table while my mother would she did a lot of work on the town, and she would always be engaged, and just knocking on doors when I was young, or having people over to call for selectmen's races. And just even being in this room, it just kind of reminded me of, I actually kind of got emotional because of, it made me think of Hal White and his passing away, and Mary White passing away, and just a lot of regardless of all the disagreements and the fights that people get into, it just makes you think about all the people that kind of come before you, people that, all of this. This is just something that I think of as just the loveliness of Sturbridge, when it's something that means a lot to me.
Great. Thank you. All right, looks like we might have started getting some activity here, so let's switch here. So, okay, this is from David Mitchell from 27 Woodside Circle. What changes to the operations of Town Hall made to deal with COVID may be worthwhile to continue going forward? I guess, Chase, this is you first.
So let me understand this question. It's moving forward, how are we going to deal with COVID opening up, the health-wise, or?
I don't think so. So what it says again is, what changes to the operation of Town Hall made to deal with COVID may be worthwhile to continue going forward?
Okay. Well, I think all of us can say that we are really looking forward to getting back to normal. It's been a very long year. It's been a challenging year. It's put stress on our residents. It's put stress on our businesses, and it's put stress on the town hall. There were a lot of decisions that were made that were difficult decisions. And moving forward, I think we got to take the whole thing into consideration. We need to learn from it so that we don't get put in this situation again, and be better prepared going forward so that we're not caught off guard again like this. So.
Great, thank you. Michael?
Yes, I'm thinking the questions about what changes to Town Hall in two respects. One is the physical infrastructure of the building. Improvements have to be made or are being made to the air quality systems in Town Hall, which is really important for the current pandemic. We started practicing sanitizing everything under the sun, which is good in general for in any case. So we've learned going forward that we should continue having healthy buildings, sustainable and resilient building here at our town hall. The other part of that question could be staff and staffing, and how staff reacts with the public, and how staffing also has changed with our new learned techniques of having meetings remotely, and which would make it more convenient in the future to hold meetings between staff in different offices, maybe a quick meeting and stuff like that. So we've learned a lot going forward to make the operation of Town Hall on a staff level more efficient. And going forward, I think both of those things are very good things that we've learned. Sometimes you take a crisis and make it into a way to improve the system, and I think we've done that.
Yep, lemons into lemonade. Yes. Priscilla, what are your thoughts on this?
I kind of agree with Mr. Supernaut in that the air quality has been improved. The sanitizing has to continue, the wiping down of everything. And I think we've learned also by what our professionals are telling us that we've had less flu nationwide. And part of it is because people are sanitizing, people are wearing masks, and maybe that's something that we should continue, especially in the winter months. If we're allowed to take the mask off, let's just go there and say you don't need it anymore when you go into a building. But perhaps it might be something individual. I wouldn't say mandated, individual, that if people feel, if our staff is working with the public, even though they have the glass, and feel, you know what, I'm a little safer if I wear it because it's flu season, continue it. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also feel it also gives our staff and the boards an opportunity to meet with people who want to do it remote. There are still going to be folks who are not ready to go out yet. They're not ready to come into a public building. So you can do it remotely. They have access to you, they have access to the town, and they can get their work done in another fashion. So I think we've learned a lot, and I think we've all gotten very proficient in remote work. By default, whether we were ready or not. So I think it's a plus. You know, you don't know what you can do until you have to.
Yep, I agree. Jamie, what do you think?
Well, I have to piggyback on a lot of what everybody else said, but I think, you know, some of the obvious things are just making sure that, kind of how Priscilla was saying, we have to make sure that people like Lisa Munier, the people in the schools, they have all the resources they need to work hygienically and stay safe going forward in a variety of reasons, public safety, down the line. But then there's also, you know, the sort of operational aspects of the drop box out back. Well, that stuff is great and should be here to stay. And I think that the almost digital infrastructure part of it is something that we actually need to improve a lot going forward. The website's difficult to use and watch if you don't have cable television, it can be a little cumbersome, and sometimes it sounds like there's, even a lot of it I think was Zoom, but there were issues in terms of being able to hear it, see it, all of that. And I think we just kind of, and some of this has to do with a lot with what the Commonwealth and the Secretary of State can authorize us to do. But it has to just be easier to vote. It has to be easier to tell people what's going on out there. I mean, it seems like the voting numbers are down and the population's up. We need to re-engage with our citizenry, if I can say the word, and keep moving forward with these sort of digital and communication infrastructure issues.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We've got some more coming in here, so let's see. This one. Okay, so this is from Dr. Louis Frazen of 146 Lane 8. Is that a road? Yeah. Okay, is that on the lake or something?
New Boston.
Okay, so during the COVID pandemic, public health organizations have played an important role to promote healthy outcomes. Going forward, do you see opportunities for the Sturbridge Board of Health to be more proactive for local health issues?
Absolutely. I think that the Sturbridge Board of Health, first of all, has done an excellent job throughout this pandemic. I would like to thank our health agent because he has worked countless overtime hours. And you know what, that whole board of Linda Kokalis and all of them, you guys have just worked so hard. So I truly do commend you. Going forward, I'll tell you something that I think is super important, and that is our town meeting. There's going to be so many residents that are uncomfortable to come to our town meeting because of this pandemic. And the Board of Health, what I think we should do as selectmen is not put any major important items like a senior center on that agenda, because the constituents are afraid to come to town meeting, and we need their voice heard. I think everybody deserves a fair shake at this, and I want to commend the Board of Health.
Thank you, Chase. Michael?
I concur that the Board of Health has been working really hard. The staff in the Health Department has been working really hard, and it's been a very trying time. Moving forward, which is the question, the Board of Health, can take a more proactive role in community health. In the past, we've had a nurse and, that sort of thing. But I think the Board of Health can take, work with the Director of Council on Aging, for example. And I think if the Board of Health works with other departments like that and not to say they haven't in the past, but I think if they up the way we've been doing. It may take more resources, but I think we can do better with our seniors as far as health goes and health care. And I think we can do better with, the public in general as far as keeping them informed, because we're more, I think the citizens respect what the Board of Health, our local Board of Health says. So as long as we feel that they're telling us the truth about health issues, I think it's very important, because the truth really matters when it comes down to public health. So, that's all I can say.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Paula?
Well, when you first asked that question, the thought that came to my mind is, how can you improve on what's really good? I think our Board of Health, we're very fortunate. I think they're always on top of everything, certainly in the food industry and in every aspect. I think that what they've been doing, they should continue to do. I do agree that, maybe more with the senior center, but also I'd like to see, and maybe they're doing it, but last I heard, they weren't able to, more reach out in the retirement park here in Sturbridge on Kelly Road. There's a lot of seniors there that can't get out. Maybe some kind of a reach out. I also agree with Chase in that the town meeting is going to keep people out, because people are still going to be afraid, vaccinated or not, they're going to be afraid, and 6 feet apart or not, they're still going to be afraid. We need to come up with a creative way that we can hold a town meeting and everybody attend without fear. Maybe, I don't know, maybe, and this is just a thought passing it out, maybe X number of people on a certain day, maybe another, I don't know, maybe you could do it outside, on the field. There's got to be creative ways you can get to find a way that people can come to the town meeting and feel safe. We need the public involved in a town meeting. This is their town. They need to tell us what, they need to tell the Board of Selectmen what they want and what they feel their needs are.
Yeah, thank you. Jamie?
I agree with much of what's been said. I think the answer to the question is yes, we need an engaged Board of Health, but we also need a supported Board of Health. And a lot of that comes to, I think, as Mike mentioned, resource. And public health dollars can be difficult to come up high. My wife, Parisa, who's wonderful, is I had to say that, is in public health. And she has a master's in public health. And what you find is that there's so many challenges that come forward that have been listed. Some of the things around, cleanliness, hygiene, but it's difficult to often find the money. We're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to be engaged. And when hopefully when COVID goes away and we're back to pretty much normal, we can't lose sight of all of the challenges that have come. We need sustained resource investment, and it has to be gradual. We have to be creative about where the money comes from. It can't just come from the town. We have a lot coming at us right now. So that sort of creativity is going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take an engaged Board of Selectmen and an engaged town. So that's how I think that's the answer to the question.
Yeah, I hear you. And this last year has been a real eye-opener in terms of the importance of public health and how vital it is to keep resources there. So we'd all be in a very different place, I think, if that had been the case. So Let's see. We've got another question from a resident, and I am trying to prioritize resident questions, so keep them coming. This one from Scott Guerreri from 28 Wallace Road. As an owner of 2 small businesses in town, one huge issue is the vaccinations in town. As selectmen, what exactly you do to fill these, oh, no, I'm sorry, not vaccinations, sorry.
Vacancies.
Let me start over, Chase.
Yeah.
As an owner of 2 small businesses in town, one huge issue is the vacancies in town. As selectmen, what exactly would you do to fill these vacancies? That's a good question.
That is, thank you for the question, Scott. I think the most important thing to filling those vacancies is we need to make Sturbridge a desirable location. And you do that by a couple different ways. And I touched on it in my opening statement, and that's why this Massachusetts tip in 2026 for our downtown revitalization plan, with that parking lot in the center of our downtown district, and we have phenomenal restaurants, that's going to get people wanting to come to Sturbridge and walk around, visit let's face it, our restaurants are unbelievable. When I was sitting on the board, I learned a stat that in Worcester County, we bring in the most money other than Worcester, more than Auburn. I mean, if you think about that, that's amazing. That shows the town is booming, and we need to do all we can to help these businesses by getting people to want to come here. And then you'll see those businesses fill up, and that's how I...
Thank you. Thank you. Michael?
As far as vacancies go, the commercial real estate market is really been hurt by the pandemic. And we have a vacancy coming up that's, for example, J.C. Penney's closing, and that's a large, parcel. And immediately, as soon as we found out, the Board of Selectmen, and I was part of it, asked the town administrator to see what our economic development coordinator could do with contacting the property owner immediately to see if there's anything the town can do to fill that space. And we do have an economic development coordinator, and as far as I can tell, the board's been very supportive of the economic development tourism coordinator. And we're going through a difficult time. There's a lot of factors affecting vacancies all over the country. It's a national problem. But all solutions to these types of problems have to be local. So I have confidence that no matter who here tonight is elected, they will work hard to try to keep the commercial real estate market in Sturbridge viable and healthy.
Great. Thank you. Priscilla?
Well, we have a lot of vacancies. We have J.C. Penney, we have Cinemagic, we have Dress Barn, we have Santander Bank, we have the Bank of America, and I could go on. The public house, the OSV inns are not open yet. They may not open depending on how COVID goes. Correct, they're not. Now, that's one. However, what we need to do as a community, when a business comes in to open, we need to tell them, you need 7 permits. You need this, you need this. Not, here's one. Now, oh no, you can't open yet because now you got to get this. That does not help any business. And we need to be consistent with our regulations. Not business 1 has a 50-foot buffer and business 2 has a 100-foot buffer. If it's 50 feet, it's 50 feet for a B, C, or D. I think that's part of our problem. I would also recommend that the economic development person, and perhaps some from the Board of Selectmen, meet with businesses at least one time to say, and bring them in groups. How has COVID affected you? What can we as a community do to help you? And let them tell us, because, we can sit here and say, well, they haven't had much because there aren't many people. But you know what? It could be something we don't even know about. And maybe we can help them, but if we can't, maybe we can direct them to where they can get help. So I do believe that we need to look at our consistency in our regulations. We need to work with them, and we need to make sure that every business has everything it needs at the time it comes in, telling you that it's going to open.
Great. Okay, and Jamie?
Thanks. So it's a difficult question right now because resource allocation is really complicated, because our residential real estate market is booming. We have commercial real estate apparently emptying out, and we're not sure when the bleeding's going to stop. So I think Priscilla's point about engaging with the business community is important. But I also think that a lot of those things are, although those are important issues that she's addressed, they're at the margins relative to the scope of some of these problems, because how we can invest in help businesses it goes back to that point about resource allocation, and it costs money to help people, and we have to figure out how we're going to give services to help those businesses, and we need to help our businesses. But it's just with the real estate market, well, both the two real estate markets, let's say, going in one direction or another direction pretty rapidly, and then we have all this money coming in, hopefully from federal government, that we're not entirely sure how we can spend. We kind of have to do a lot of fact-finding, be deliberate, and work very hard on it, because it's not going to be easy, and it isn't the type of thing that you can just give platitudes at, and it happens. It is hard work, it's resource, and it's sacrifice to support their businesses in this particular time. It's not normal. So.
Nothing about any of this is normal.
I think that's true as I put my mask back on. Right?
That's right. All right. The only normalcy here is I've got cats with me.
I know, they can't see that out.
Oh, this is called the Mancini for the Pink Panther.
Very good.
All right. Next question we've got here. Let's see. This is, okay, oh, wait. This was the person who asked the first question. Okay, this is Tom Welch, 170 Cedar Street. As a young family, I would like to take my children somewhere other than walking trails. Could you suggest something that would be within the budget and help young tax-paying families?
All right.
Chase.
Thank you for the question. As a young father myself to two young boys, I understand. And first of all, I do want to say that we do have great trails. Behind Old Sturbridge Village, I take my kids, and you know what? It's a great day for us to go walk around in there. They get their energy out, and hopefully they fall asleep a little quicker. But as a young family, you know what? In Sturbridge, there's a couple of different things that we could do, I think, that would be fun activities right here in town. And one is we got a proposed ball field at our rec area coming up. And I think it'd be a great spot for it. You have basketball courts there. You have a small beach. If we could put a field there, I think it would be a phenomenal place for a family to go. There's a little playground. Get some energy out. Another option that I see coming down the pike that I know a lot of residents really want, and it'd be a great thing to take your kids to, is if we did build a dog park here in Sturbridge. And you know what? You'd be able to take your kids, let the dog run around, let the kids run around a little bit. And there's some exciting things that we have to look forward to.
Great, thank you, Chase. Michael?
Yeah, well, my first thought, in the summertime at least, would be the rec is a really good place for children to go in the summertime. Like Selectman Kabinski said, there's basketball courts there, swimming, and that sort of thing. One of the things the Board of Selectmen is currently working on is reopening the Streeter Beach. I mean, it was run by the Department of Conservation Recreation. It's on Corps of Engineers property, but that would be another access to an area where I remember they used to have races with remote-controlled boats and planes and stuff there, and if we could get that going again, that would be great for kids, because the remote-controlled stuff is really good. The, other outside activities in neighborhoods, kids, we have to be able to encourage kids to create their own playtime, and because that's very important growing up. So we have to look for situations where kids can just get together and play independently. We do have, we do have Little League and that sort of thing, and so there's league play. As they get older, there's football and so forth. So Sturbridge does have some recreational opportunities for our children, but we need more. And I agree with Selectman Kubinski. We're lacking. I know our rec department the committee has been looking at options. We're going to be putting some lights in at the Little League field behind the town barn, which is a great opportunity for kids to play. And I remember just going to Little League field, and we'd strike up a ball game with just a couple kids. The other place that I don't see children playing as much as when I was younger is on the town common. We used to just go there and, a bunch of kids get together and just do whatever. And that's something I guess we lost over time, but it would bring joy to my heart to drive by the town common and see some kids just playing there,
Great, thank you. Michael?
Yep.
Priscilla?
Just as a point of information, the lights are on at the fields behind the barn. I was there last night for a Little League game, and they're on, and they're great. I don't know how young Mr. Welch's children are, so what I may say may not fit his children, but I hope it does. I agree with the recreation area. It's an opportunity for children to swim, to play there. Burgess Playground with the swings and all. OSV used to be, Old Sturbridge Village used to be free for residents, and I believe it still is. They could one day just go in as a family, walk around, the kids could see the animals, and, I think that's something nice to do. And kids like it, they love animals, and it's one option. They could ride the buggy and all that. I mean, there's little different things that they could do there, one day anyways. Then I believe that they need to also check with the Recreation Department, because they do come up with a lot of programs for children in the summer, and they're age appropriate. So again, I don't know how little your children are, but if, there is always something available. And I'm sure if they call the Rec Department, they could get more information telling them their ages and what they can avail themselves of.
Great, thank you. Jamie?
All right, so I guess there's a couple of points here. I agree, first on the fields, I would just know, we've been talking about the fields a long time. It's time we do something about the fields. I think it's enough talking about the fields. But as to the rest of it, I agree. The rec, streets, street or beach, all places I spent my entire childhood with my brother Brad, those are all wonderful options. But Priscilla raises the really a point that's important, but it's beyond even what to do with your children. The town and OSV and also similarly the public house and many of the other businesses, but those are kind of signature businesses for us. And OSV is a nonprofit, but so the town needs to engage with OSV in this particular juncture and figure out programs that it can run for our community where it's supporting OSV, because OSV and those similar entities are kind of what everybody knows Sturbridge for outside of town. And without those institutions being stable, we have another additional problem on our hands. So again, not to make a more pleasant question into a dire question, but I do think it's hard to divorce it from the present circumstance,
Yep, great, thank you. Thank you. Just to editorialize just a little bit, since we do get so many tourist questions and we don't know which of you will be elected, as important as those recreational opportunities for residents in town, the kids of residents in town, the tourists are also asking, what do I do with my kids? So, just keep it all in the back of your mind. So, next resident question is, let's see. This is, Rob Cherney from 124 Lead 9 Road. Chase, we'll start with you. What is your opinion about the proposed equestrian facility in town?
Well, the proposed equestrian facility in town, I came here thinking about this, and I said, you know, what are we going to do? Are we going to walk the fence and be political? But I want you to let you know I'm not a politician, and so far, everything that I have seen on it, I fully support. I don't see how a business like this equestrian facility coming to Sturbridge could be a bad thing. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create people coming to our town to spend money. They're going to stay in our hotels. They're going to eat at our restaurants. They're going to fill their cars up with gas. I think this is a great opportunity for Sturbridge. And you know, earlier there was a question, how do we fill these vacant buildings? Well, if we have something like that in town, you're bringing a lot more people in. And so far, everything that I've seen on it, it's a legal business. It's regulated heavily. And just speaking with the gentleman when he was on our meeting, this is a passion of his. Like, he loves these horses. He loves these events. I don't see how this is a bad thing for Sturbridge.
Great, thank you. Michael?
I agree that there's high level of potential positive economic impact to the community. When the proponent came before the Board of Selectmen, my comment was that in my lifetime, this is not the first time that someone has proposed a racetrack in Sturbridge. And the prior two times that I'm aware of, the proponent didn't do a good job at public relations. And so I said, if this is something you want to do and are really passionate about it, you're going to have to convince the people of the town that it's a good thing. And my position is, if the townspeople are persuaded, and I am persuaded, then I would vote in favor of it. But I must say, the proponent has been working diligently at getting out to the town what he wants to do and providing some information, and he's been working with the town boards and stuff. So they appear to be doing what I would want them to do to convince. The onus is on the proponent to convince enough people in town that it's a good thing for the town. I like I like Selectman Kaminsky. I like the possibility of having more commercial business in town, and that's it could be a positive thing. But I still need to be totally convinced on all the details that it's in the best interest of the town.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla?
I agree that it has certainly economic potential. However, at this point that I'm at, I have not been privy to the emails that all the boards have had, whether it be the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, Conservation. I have heard that there were conservation issues. Again, I'm not privy to all of that information. So for me to say yay or nay at this point is premature. However, when I receive that, I will definitely have an opinion, but I also believe in another thing. I believe there need to be public hearings so that the public can come and hear the pros and the cons. Like, I don't know right now, I don't know all the pros and cons. I know what I believe is a pro, but I don't know what the cons are yet. And I believe that every resident should have that opportunity to go to a public hearing. And then I believe it should be a warrant item on either a special town meeting or an annual town meeting, and let the taxpayer decide whether they think it's a pro or a con for them, because no matter what, the entire town will be impacted. And I think the town should have the answer to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I tend to agree with Priscilla. I think Chase is a little cavalier on this. I think he's in front of the information. My understanding is this is contingent on state approval. I want to know particularly what facilities are going to be there. I want to know what impact that's going to have on our present restaurants who are in the midst of real trauma here. So I have worked around horse tracks. I have seen the issues they have, particularly Suffolk Down, and it's very complicated. It is not a simple issue. It creates there's a lot of weight to this. It's not just a normal business. It's not just another thing we're opening up. So we need to be deliberate and thoughtful and make sure that it is in the commercial interest of present Sturbridge business owners and residents. And then if it is, great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next question. Again, I'm keeping track so that we have time for our closing arguments, but closing statements, not arguments. Lawyering up here.
I object.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
There's a question here with no name, but I think this is something that I can answer. Are all of the candidates full-time residents of Sturbridge? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are. Next question. Okay. Melanie Sanford, 464 Lead Mine Lane. Okay, Chase. If given the chance by another business on Route 15 who gave the same offer regarding the sewer line with the same circumstances, would you, as a board member, presumably, consider a revote on the sewer line question?
Okay, great. Thank you for the question, Melanie. First of all, I want to start talking about Route 15. And 3 years ago, when I first got elected on the Board of Selectmen, Route 15 was an absolute mess. And if you look at it now, you have Paw Plaza open, you have Pine Lake Resort Campground, which that guy has done an absolute beautiful job, and that's going to bring a lot of money in. You have the new Apple Green gas station, which 3 years ago was the abandoned Roy Rogers, and now you have a new pilot station. So Route 15 right now is looking really good. I want to explain to you about the sewer line vote and my position on this vote. We were presented by Mr. Moreau a very generous offer, and that offer was to run a sewer line down Route 15. I want to make it very clear that I thought hard and long about this decision. The first offer was to let him tie in on Farquhar Road, and that was actually the only vote that was taken. For him to tie in on Farquhar Road, and I'm going to use rough numbers, but they're pretty close, it would have cost a $700,000 line and the tie-in fee of $1.2 million. He was looking at $1.9 million to tie in on Farquhar Road, and he received a 5-0 vote to do that. The next option that we were presented was that he was going to run the line down Route 15 and tie in right across the street from this town hall here. That line was going to cost $2.4 million, and he wanted the $1.2 million tie-in fee waived completely. And then his third option was, I'm going to build my own sewer treatment plant. Well, I thought there was creative ways to do this. First of all, I couldn't figure out why he didn't tie in on Farquhar Road because it was his cheapest option. But having said that, I thought him building a sewer treatment plant for close to $2.8 or $3 million and then having to maintain that plant every year, I thought it would be fair to have him pay some type of a tie-in fee. Not waive it completely, although I do applaud Mrs. Jimis because she was very much business, go get it. And I felt some type of a tie-in fee. I'm talking $400,000 or $500,000. We could have worked it out over a TIF over a 10-year period, and it would have been less than what he was paying to maintain his current sewer treatment plant. I vote, and you know what would have happened? Every business coming to town after that, the first thing that they were going to ask for is a free tie-in, because he got it. I'm very passionate about this because I did a lot of homework on the subject. I ran a lot of numbers, and I wanted what was best for Sturbridge when I made that decision. So, would I change my vote? I would be more vocal about being creative, how we get it done, but I wouldn't change my vote.
Thank you, Chase. Michael?
Yeah. We didn't get a chance to actually vote on the Route 15 to me, made more sense for the future development of Route 15, for the town, from the town's perspective. Unfortunately, the Board of Selectmen never had the chance. The decision was made to build a wastewater treatment plant, and would I change my vote on the tie-in fee? I think the tie-in, one thing about sewer fees that I've learned, based on, is they have to be fair and equitable. Okay, so and like Selectman Kaminsky said, if we allow someone to tie in without the fee, then we have to be equitable to everyone else that wants to tie in. So it created a real issue on the town's ability to repay the bonds that we've taken for the construction of the wastewater treatment plant. So if, we didn't really have the chance to finalize the details on the Route 15 connection, and I was amazed that the decision was made to build a wastewater treatment plant when he had an option that was less expensive to tie in at Farker Road. I think I would have agreed to the town paying some of the cost of Route 15 connection, because in the future that would allow us to expand. Maybe, go to town meeting and ask for enough money to pay the difference between the Farker Road tie-in and the Route 15 tie-in. I think I would have voted in favor of that, but not to waive tie-in fees and not be equitable to everyone else that has already tied in or will tie in the future. I couldn't have voted for that.
Thank you. Priscilla?
I wouldn't change my vote as far as accepting that, or my feeling as far as accepting the 2.4 million. Mr. Kaminsky did bring up the sewer fees, and I was hoping that discussion would lead other members of the board to come up with a TIF, perhaps offer him a TIF like we do to other businesses, and encourage him that, look, we'll work with you, and maybe like Chase said, maybe at a lesser amount of money to work with him, but give him a TIF also to show, what, this is a good thing, this is a win-win for us. Because I do believe that if we had that sewer line, we have a lot of area behind the public house all the way to the corner that we have some room for growth, we have something. Whether we make a small park that people can walk around in and sit out, a nice looking, whatever, there is growth there, there is a potential. Small business, whatever we can do, the potential is there. So I wouldn't change it, but I would find a way to encourage this person with a TIF or with something else the town can do. I think it was a project on the Board of Selectmen's side that was abandoned too quickly. I think it needed to have had much more discussion and options brought up as a TIF, taking Chase's number of $400,000 or $500,000 and give him an opportunity to pay it down. I think the town lost an opportunity for quite a while.
Thank you. And Jamie, you don't have a vote to change. We understand that, but if you're familiar with the case, what are your thoughts on it? Why don't we just?
I was familiar with it then. I can't say that I have enough information to have any coherent opinion tonight. I'd just be guessing.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I better not to.
All right, that's fair enough. I hear you. I think I have one more in here. It was someone who had two questions, so bear with me while I find them. Okay. The father, Tom Welch, who asked about recreation for his kids, asks the second question. So Tom Welch, 170 Cedar Street. If given the chance by Mr. Oh, this is similar. Hold on. That's almost exactly the same question as the one we just asked, if you would reconsider your vote. So, okay, and so we will move on to my next question, which is good. I was hoping we were going to have this one. Okay, Chase, what do you see as the 3 greatest challenges facing Sturbridge right now and into the near future?
Well, I think the first challenge that we're really facing here is the vacant buildings on Main Street. You know, we alluded to JCPenney, Cinemagic, Friendly's, the old Paletti's building. These are important parts of our town that we need to fill with business, you know, and jobs. My heart breaks about JCPenney leaving and all the employees there. It's been there for so long. You know, as a kid going to get haircuts there, it's just, it's a sad thing. And I think that's our number one challenge. I think our second challenge here is how do we bounce back from COVID, okay? So last year, a big part of Sturbridge is our hotels and meals tax that we bring in. Now, obviously, last year, no one was traveling, no one was staying in our hotels, and certainly no one was dining at our restaurants when they were closed due to COVID. So how do we bounce back from that? And the third greatest challenge that we have, I think we just need to make Sturbridge more attractable to tourists. You know, I remember as a kid going to the fireworks at Old Sturbridge Village. I miss those fireworks. And, you know, I'd like to see things like that come back to Sturbridge. Mm-hmm. And like Mike alluded to earlier, street or beach. I mean, these are things we want to do to get people excited and move on. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Michael?
One of the challenges that when I first ran for Board of Selectmen was the traffic congestion on Route 20. And those types of projects are so large and so costly, and it's over $20 million. It's taking time to get there. But that is a big challenge to try to reduce the traffic congestion while still trying to maintain some of the character of the shops, the remaining antique shops and touristy type establishments that we still have. So that's a big challenge to keep the community character while improving capacity of the roadway in the area where we have such congestion. So we're working on it. The town administrator and stuff has been attending meetings and working on it. So, but it is a big challenge, and it's a long-term challenge. It's not something that we're going to be able to solve overnight. It's going to take time, but we have to persist. You wanted 3 of them, huh? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking at the residential real estate market, and it's just out of sight. People cannot afford, unless they're coming from a big city, to buy a house in Sturbridge. The residents, mm-hmm. You know, somebody growing up in town and stuff, have a real struggle to find a place to live. And and that's another long-term challenge. I mean, we've spent, you know, we haven't really had very many affordable housing units in town, and the type of new construction that we have is it's nice, but unaffordable to most residents. So that's a real challenge. One thing that the town has been working on is we do have now a housing partnership, Sturbridge Housing Partnership, that's actively working on the problem. Mm-hmm. But it's a pretty tough nut. Oh, number 3. Number 3. I mean, there's the Sturbridge has a great deal of work to do on recapturing our image as a as a tourist town, and we, the The Tourist Association is, and we do spend a lot of money on advertising and stuff, and we got to keep working on that to try to get back to the levels of people coming into town. Years ago, tons of people would come to Old Sturbridge Village, and then the attendance is way down. So I think we should work on that, because that's a long-term challenge as well.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla?
I agree with Chase on the vacancies being a number one issue, and also tie into that COVID survival for our businesses. And I go back to asking them how we can help them, and then we got to figure out, we need our economic development person to become aggressively seeking to fill these vacancies and make it a town that you want to come into, make it business-friendly, make it welcoming to all businesses that will fit within our community. I think the second thing, senior center and fields have been studied and discussed for years. And here we are, 2021, still studying and discussing them. And I think both the seniors and the young people deserve each of those. The seniors certainly deserve a state-of-the-art center, as well as the children deserve the fields. I don't want today's seventh grader to be sitting here someday talking about fields for his or her children. And that's why, but you can't, stop the studies. Stop the studies. Thousands of dollars, get going, move. And my third thing is balancing without excessive tax increases. Look, what Michael said is true. It's not affordable to buy a home here, but sometimes it's not even affordable to stay here. And families have been households have been greatly affected by COVID. They've either lost their jobs, they've had to find new jobs, they've been on unemployment for 14, 15 months on the pandemic type of unemployment. Like a household, when you have a situation hit you, you have to adjust your budget. You're not going to buy that new car that you really need. You're going to make do with what you have. You're not going to take that vacation. And the town has to prioritize what it feels it's its most important need to address first. And then as we all recover, residents and businesses and the community, then we start with our wants.
Thank you. Jamie?
Thank you. It's hard to give three in the midst of COVID, frankly.
Yeah.
You can give three just on COVID. What is the public house in Cedar Street going to do, or restaurants going to do, because there's no Brimfield Field in May? How are they going to survive this winter with a summer that they don't know when it's going to really get going, if it is, and are they punting another season? The vacancies. I mean, again, that's not totally a symptom of COVID, but that definitely was a quickener. And then, our kids. If kids needed services in schools this year, how did that work for them? Because everybody was doing it, all of our teachers who I'm sure did as best as they could, they were doing everything with one hand tied behind their back. Yeah. So to address the other issues, I mean, we need to stabilize. All of the other capital projects are secondary to that, because we can't even evaluate what we can do with any fiscal responsibility. So, all of the other issues are, our senior center, yeah, we need to address our senior center. We need to take care of our seniors. Fields, yeah, we need to take care of our fields. We need, trails, dog parks, you name it. But without stabilization, without having the information to know what we're doing next, I don't even know how you evaluate those problems. We are still in phase A of one of the biggest traumas to our economy in a long time, and we need to be deliberate, thoughtful, and get all of the information before we make any decisions about the next stage.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, just make sure we don't, nope, nothing from the public. We've talked a lot about that. Okay, Chase, what aspect of town government needs fixing the most? Why and how?
God, I love going first.
Get it over with.
Yeah. What aspect of town government needs fixing and
The most.
why?
And, yeah,
Well,
why and how?
my town government is a difficult thing to approach. And, you know, it can be very intimidating going in front of the different boards, and the communication between the resident and the board, it's not always what it should be. I'm very proud in the 3 years I've been here that we've had such great hirings in our town government. Our town administrator, Jeff Bridges, our senior center director, Leslie Wong, hiring Butch Jackson as the DPW director, and hiring police chief Earl Desert, along with the many other great hires that we've had to try to make this town government what's best for its residents. To me, town government should work with the people. It shouldn't work against the people. And I think that's what needs fixing. Not, you know, just the whole process of the against. You want to work with. We all have a common goal, and we want to move forward with it.
Thank you. Michael?
There's one aspect that bothered me, about town government in general. It's not just Sturbridge, but is the lack of engagement by the public. There's a relatively small number of people that actually become engaged in town government, and it should be larger. And one of the things that I would like, that the school is doing now is there's a civics program in our schools. When I first came on the board, there was no civics program at all. And children were being left out to be good citizens without knowing anything about government and how it works. And that bothered me really bad. And I see some improvement now going with, look at how engaged we are with 4 candidates for selectmen. I mean, that's a big improvement over what it used to be. So if the town keeps improving and we can get our citizens more engaged in government, we will have a stronger, better government. So I guess that's about all I can say about what bothered me about government, and I've tried to work to help improve it, and I think it's going in a better direction now.
Great. Thank you. Priscilla?
One of the things I think that we fall short on is the town meeting. And by that I mean, on a good day, we might have 100 people. And what happens is, if it's a hot topic, you may have 400 people, and once the topic has come, it comes back down. I don't know how to resolve it, but I think that as a board, the board would need to think about creative ways of making people want to come to the town meeting, because this is a multi-million-dollar budget, and it affects every resident in this community. And how do you engage them? How do you make them want to come? And I don't have that answer, but I think it's something that we need to look at, and I think it falls into this question of engagement, of getting people more involved. And we need to find a way to do that. That is one of my biggest things. The other thing I believe is that we need to work, our departments need, our committees need to work together, not our committees, and they need to have consistency in their rules and in their regulations. And that, I think, is something that can be improved a bit. I truly believe that. So I think we have things to look at, and that's what my thing is right now with the government. As far as our departments in the town hall and in center office, they work well. They're very friendly to the community. They'll meet the community off hours if need be, because they work to try to meet everyone's needs, especially now in these times here. So that's where my thinking is.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jamie?
Well, I've generally had good interactions with Sturbridge, be it DPW, the police, people in town hall, down the line. But I do understand the question, and I understand the kind of frustration Chase sort of referenced, and I won't give him a hard time because he has gone first and I have gone last. I think I think that when bureaucracy and government work well, it's a lot about communication and transparency. And right now, it's hard because a lot of it's COVID, and some of it's the scale of the town. But we're not doing a great job communicating. I think that we're still running as if the Southbridge Evening News goes to everybody's house at 4 o'clock at night, and it doesn't. And so the town certainly, and it's not anybody's fault here. It's nobody did anything wrong. It's just a change in times. But the town certainly can, and there are very concrete, inexpensive ways to improve your communication, think about how you engage with your citizenry, create an open dialogue and some transparency, so then people don't get frustrated by the rules because they know what the rules are, and most of the rules have a reason, by and large. I'm sure there's some ones we could point out that don't make sense here or there at the margins, but you know, we have all these committees and we have all these functions usually. You know, we have a building inspector because we don't want our buildings to burn down. I mean, you know, it's not. So I think it's communication, making it easier to see what's going on in the town, using the, you know, electronic media, and, you know, partnering with our residents to let them know what's going on.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions. We technically don't even quite have enough time for so we're going to go a little bit long. I hope you're with me, Bruce, in the CCTV office. So let's hear closing statements. You've got 2 minutes. Take it away, Chase.
All right, great. I would like to thank everybody for tonight. I'd like to thank all the candidates. You guys, everybody was great tonight. These last 3 years, I've truly enjoyed helping the residents of this town. I am now very lucky to call many of you my friends. I've enjoyed hearing your ideas. I've enjoyed trying to help, and I'm here to help you. I've tried to show my commitment to the residents of this town by always making myself available. If you contact me, for whichever reason it might be, questions about a vote, looking for advice or guidance, I will always respond. If you contact me and I don't have the answer, I will go out and find that answer. We need forward thinking. We have a forward-thinking town administrator, and we need to arm him with selectmen who are going to think towards the future, not backwards. Unlike the national level where everyone is divisive, we have a great town in Sturbridge. We are a community and we want to stand together. I want to make a promise to the residents of this town. You are not always going to agree with me. We are going to disagree. But I promise you this, I will always have your best interest and Sturbridge's best interest in my heart when I make my decisions. Thank you very much for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Chase. Michael.
Yes. Well, thank you again for having us. I will respond to all constituents' questions and needs and requests if reelected. Some of the issues that I've been dealing with is the, as I stated earlier, the Route 20 traffic congestion. This past year, the town requested that the Massachusetts Department of Public Works and agreed to take part of this project at the March Central Mass Planning Organization meeting. I voted with the majority to put the first phase of this project on the Transportation Improvement Program. That's called the TIP. And I will continue to fight for Route 20 funding to reduce traffic congestion and accommodate pedestrians and bicycles, improve safety. Another thing that I will work on is affordable housing opportunities. I think seriously lacking. A housing partnership has encouraged the formation of a housing trust. We can do better than we've been doing on this matter. There's a substantial amount of money set aside for housing in our Community Preservation Fund, and we should use this money to leverage state and federal programs for rehab of existing buildings and for first-time home buyers. I am committed to doing the job. I attend workshops, seminars, conferences like those sponsored by the Mass Municipal Association. I am a member, as I said, of Worcester County, Massachusetts Selectmen's Association, and am the Sturbridge Board of Representative, Sturbridge Selectmen's Board representative to the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I bring to the board 23 years of experience as a public official working in various capacities. If you voted early, I hope you considered voting for me. And if you haven't voted yet, I ask for your vote on Monday, April 12th.
Okay, thank you. Priscilla?
This evening, you've heard many thoughts and ideas on what is in the best interest of our community. We have some issues to address, the senior center, the fields, our commercial vacancies, housing. You have heard all of these tonight, and these are, whoever's elected has got a plate full of things that need to be addressed, and working with the town administrator. I have no problem working with residents. I have in the past. I have helped residents on Shepherd Road with the solar project at the time. I've worked with the tornado relief. So I'm always available, either at your home, by phone, by email, whatever your choice be. My record has shown consistent support for businesses, and I will continue to support them. But I also am a bit frugal, and I would also not allow money to be spent without a prioritized list. I believe that many people are suffering, and I will never lose sight of that. Because I have experience, because I have no set agenda, and I understand that the role of a selectman is to represent the residents of this community. And I ask, if you agree with what you have heard from me, I humbly ask for your vote on Monday, April 12th. Thank you, Alex, for this event this evening, and good luck to all my fellow opponents. In this case, they are all fellows. And I look forward to your vote on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Jamie, wrap us up.
All right. So as the last person, I'm not going to belabor too many points, but I do want to say, well, first of all, thank you to all of you. I won't even use the word opponents. I'll say friends. I appreciate all of your work on all this, and thank you, Alex. We need to stabilize. We need to stabilize. We need to stabilize. A lot of the other conversations that come within a normal election period, they do not apply at this juncture, frankly. We have a lot of money that is coming to us that is going to be able to be used in very, very specific ways, I suspect. I don't know that, but that is what my understanding of how the money will be rolled out is. I have experience with enormous budgetary projects in the billions range. I have analyzed regulation at the state, federal, and municipal level, and county level, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. I have a skill set that I think is unique among all my friends up here, and I would ask for everybody's vote on Monday. So with that, I'll leave it.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, residents, for tuning in tonight. You do not have an easy decision to make. You've got 4 people who really obviously care about this town and are willing to serve, and that is no small thing. You might want to consider it for yourself if you're not on a town committee or something. Volunteer, get engaged. Maybe you'll be up here in 3 years running as a selectman's candidate. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Be safe and be well.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Try to put a plug in for committees.